Welcome to A Different Perspective, where civil commentary is priority. Hello, it has been a good while, and I blame my technical apparatus. I had to update some things, and that took a while, and just getting familiar with software and some other stuff. It took time. It was a learning curve, but you know what? Enough of that. Let's go ahead and focus on today's topic of discussion. I've been wanting to make a video about canceling student debt because I just had a lot of questions, and one of the ways that I'm able to engage with people that don't agree with me is through Twitter. So speaking of Twitter, you should check it out. I have a Twitter account. I'm the Casual Radical at ADPCC1980. If you like engaging in political dialogue discourse and, discussing the problems, but also offering solutions, hey, follow. We have some really good conversations, and I think I want to normalize these conversations. And I think so many people are just depending on memes, and it's just really interesting to see their interpretations of their free speech when it's not coming from them. They're plagiarizing ideas from other people. So it's just like, dude, if you want to talk about free speech, write something. I want to hear what you have to say, because when you actually put your thoughts into play, you're going to be more considerate, I assume, because you're going to make sure, like, okay, what I'm putting out there, is it true? You don't have that wiggle room to say, hey, I was kidding. It wasn't even me that said it. So anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the question that I put out in my account, and I have a lot of people that like to engage, and that's what's really cool, and I'm kind of proud about my small community that's very diverse. So let's go ahead and take a look at the tweet that I put up. Why are people against canceling student debt? Genuinely curious. I don't see this policy as a personal gain, but I do like the idea of helping others. I feel that we could help local economies if folks had one less bill to worry about. And this was like a headline that was on the local media outlets and national media outlets for a while back in April. You can see this tweet's a little bit older. But it recently came up a couple of weeks ago, and it's just pretty much to offer relief in this economy right now. People that are being weighed down by debt that could just be easily pushed away. I think that's a good thing, and there's more pros and cons, but let's go ahead and see what people had to say in regards to my question. And this individual by the name of Clay, super nice guy. If you want to go ahead and follow somebody that will engage with you, I highly suggest talking with Clay. He's pretty chill. And I think he's spot on his interpretation of how conservatives feel about canceling student debt. It's awesome that he also recognizes the current cost of college being outrageous. So let's go ahead and read his little thread, and we'll go ahead and elaborate on his response. My guess would be that they see it as not holding people accountable for the consequences of their choices they made knowingly, especially if the entire adult population will be expected to shoulder the cost. I can understand that, but I also think many of these loans and tuition costs are ridiculous and a problem that needs to be addressed. I think the best solution may be a tier-based one in which a percentage of the loan is forgiven and the percentage is higher for larger amounts borrowed. Meanwhile, policies should be aimed at lowering tuition costs and adjusting the terms allowed for these loans. Just my opinion. I thought that was an excellent response. There's many parts I disagree with, so let's go ahead and go over that, but I'm going to go ahead and read my response and elaborate more on that. So I think it might be cheaper. It might be a cheaper option just to cancel the debt. I don't deny that folks have made poor economic choices via college, but the benefits of getting rid of debt can also allow for more even distribution of cash instead of paying for government loans. Because if you free up people's ability to spend their money different ways, they're going to be able to stimulate the local economy. And I think creating a department, because I don't think one exists other than just for public servants, to forgive their loans. I'm pretty sure you're going to have to expand on that. Creating a department to determine the eligibility will probably be very costly. We're going to have to develop more options on a website, phone lines, departments within departments, to troubleshoot issues of people's eligibility. And then also relying on politicians to talk about policy. I have never heard a Republican politician consistently talk about the college tuition chaos we have. The cost of going to school. I haven't seen that from the Republican side. The only people that I probably see that are conservatives would be like your Ben Shapiro types that would just criticize people with garbage degrees that just wasted their money and they're not marketable after they get out of school. Which, it has some truth to it. But I think going to college and getting out of your comfort zone is a form of education as well. So, yeah, I just don't know if that option of creating a tier system would be as efficient as a lot of people would assume. It would be expensive because you would need people to maintain that, to implement that. So I think it would just be more efficient to just get rid of the debt. And that would be a short-term solution. So let's go ahead and look at some other responses. And we have Renee here, who likes to engage as well. And she's an excellent person to follow. So if you ever want to have a conversation about politics, you should go ahead and check her out as well. So I'm against it because generally speaking, I saw a lot of students abuse the FAFSA program. Plus, higher education is a choice. If done right, one will be able to settle the debt. Finally, accountability. And that's a theme that I see in a lot of these tweets, accountability. So let's go ahead and discuss what she has to say. And I can concede that young adults will be irresponsible with their finances. I was irresponsible, but if I compare my life with today's economy, with the plight of today's college students, I don't think I would be in a good spot. I mean, if I had to be in their situation right now, I wonder if any of my peers that I'm engaging with, would we be as confident as we are? Because the economic obstacles that are presented in front of today's youth is unique. We didn't have to deal with that. I think I paid $650 for a 2-bedroom apartment that was by my university, and it was walking distance, not in the bad side of town, and gas wasn't crazy back then. So I don't think it's a fair comparison. So she also mentions choice. To get a decent job nowadays, it's extremely important to have a 4-year degree, minimum a bachelor's degree, to be competitive, to be marketable. And plus, there's a lot of factors that are taking opportunities away from people. I think a lot of corporations are looking at other countries with H-1B visas that are willing to take the wages and benefits that they're going to offer. And they rely on cheaper labor or people that are just willing to do more because perhaps when they went to college in their countries, they don't have the debt that comes with getting a higher education. So I guess their credit might be better because that's another thing people look at now when they employ you, your credit score. That's crazy. And automation. A lot of jobs are utilizing computers, robots to just replace the chores, the tasks that people typically did in the past. And outsourcing is still a thing. So yeah, you have to make yourself competitive, and getting a higher education is kind of something that allows you to do that, to get more money for this crazy economy. What else? Accountability. Yeah, 18-year-olds are not going to be accountable when they see FAFSA. I used to work as a debt resolutionist for a credit card company, and I worked with college accounts, and I also worked with accounts that had big balances. And you'd be surprised about how many people don't realize how the interest rates of their credit card would be something they needed to address, because it's just going to prevent you from financing things that are going to be necessities in your life. We'll go ahead and talk about that here in a little bit after we read the next tweet from D Sprinkle. According to her, she says it's just not fair to those of us who got student loans and paid them off. It's kind of a part of being an adult. Getting a loan, signing a document, and agreeing to pay it back, but then expecting someone else to do it for you. Typical liberal thinking. So again, it's not being liberal, just recognizing the perks that we had, our economic privileges that are just not seen right now. So I don't think it is a fair comparison to compare my college experience with today's college experience. And we simply didn't have as many economic obstacles because we enjoyed a lower cost of living, and people that attended universities before me were able, I think it was a lot easier to claim bankruptcy. So you could just literally have the slate cleaned off for you. I think it's still possible, but it's a little bit harder. And I think Joe Biden helped make it more difficult. And if you look back even further in the past, colleges and public universities were tuition free up until the mid 1960s. So it's just like it wasn't as big as an obstacle the further you look back in our past. And so you're 100% correct. It isn't fair if you look at it that way. And I'm not trying to downplay people's work ethics in the past, but when we just look at a specific issue, college debt, there was significant perks of attending a university in the past compared to right now. So let's go ahead and check out the last rebuttal that we see. And to be honest, I don't think Caesar is being good faith. I mean, when I bring up a specific issue and people toss out multiple topics that aren't relevant to the discourse, that's a red flag, but I'll entertain this tweet. So let me go ahead and read it. Then cancel people's mortgages, pay off credit cards, medical bills, etc. It's a bill, and just like the aforementioned Save Med, you know that you know what you're in for when you sign up. Best way to help people is to help them help themselves. Personal accountability and responsibility is step one. Help them help themselves. So if you're going to help them, they're not helping themselves. I don't understand that talking point. In order to help someone, they're not going to be able to, I don't know. But yeah, he's getting off topic. We're talking about college tuition, so let's go ahead and talk about that. So, I mean, I'm for government-ran healthcare, so yeah, cancel medical debt. That's a inflated, corrupt system that needs to be changed as well, especially now, especially due to COVID and all the medical costs that, that people had to deal with. It's just crazy. But yeah, personal responsibility. I mean, I'm a parent now. I'm teaching that as I speak, and not everyone has the same story. You can't just expect everybody to be like, hey, I'm going to be equivalent to ADPCC. He seems pretty responsible with his finances now. He looks like he has nice things, and Caesar, he looks like he knows what he's doing. But we were young too. We weren't as accountable when we were younger, especially when I don't know what his academic background is, but I can tell you, I made lots of mistakes. And if I had to deal with just half of the obstacles that are presented now, then I don't think I would be in a good position in my life. I'm just going to be upfront. So we have to be fair when we compare our experiences. We can't just say somebody needs to be accountable when there's a big obstacle facing people. Now, let's go and talk about short-term and long-term solutions. I'm an advocate of human capital. I mean, if we can encourage people to make them more marketable via higher education, vocation, just being an entrepreneur, hey, let's go ahead and invest in people. I don't think that's a losing hand when you invest in actual people. But at the same time, I can see, let's give an example. If somebody goes to a university, they don't finish, you help them out, cancel their debt, and they want to go to a vocational school. I don't think they should get like a second opportunity handed out so easily. They would have to be able to complete their school if they have a second choice and be employed for like at least 5 years in order to get assistance again. I think that would be a good, push of like, hey, you know what? Society has helped you out once. You need to make sure you're able to do your part. You could hold people more accountable once you've given them an opportunity. Because like I said, not everyone has the same story. I know there's some outliers out there. There are people that are saying, hey, I came from nothing and look at where I'm at now. There's people that are like that. But majority of folks that don't have that ability to have that support system as a young kid, you can't expect them to be so accountable if they've never had good examples or just ever been taught about credit cards. I can speak from personal experience. My high school years, I don't remember getting coached on how to handle college loans, credit cards. And speaking about credit cards, since he's talking about paying off credit cards, where do credit card companies like to hang out? I don't know if it's something they're allowed to do now, but when I attended the university, I would see a lot of booths full with cool swag from credit card companies that would just lure college kids in because they knew they were easy to take advantage of. So that's the culture we have, because that's another criticism that I have with the educational process in this country, because we have to build a culture of people that value education. And I think when we are talking about our public school system, we overemphasize on extracurricular activities instead of focusing on education. I mean, the smart kid, at least when I was in school, was a nerd. You know, it wasn't seen as the most prestigious title to have to be successful academically. And you can see that also in higher education with our culture via movies. You got like Animal House, American Pie, and there's so many other movies that follow that genre. That is actual reality for us Americans that like to indulge in a party lifestyle at a young age, and that's part of the experience. And that's something that we probably need to correct a little bit, because I don't think you're putting a lot of value in education. So, and that was something that came to me when I actually had a conversation with somebody from another country, from Europe. And he was dumbfounded with like how much emphasis was put on sports, and you use sports to get into college. He's like, well, you're not focusing on academics, because that's not something that they use in their academic experience. So I was like, that's a good point. And I think, you know, that is something that we need to make sure we address to handle that part of the cultural issues that we have with education. We got to start young and make sure we make kids, you know, realize the value of their education. And I don't think that's something we do very well. So that's my criticism for that, to help them be more accountable. So yeah, short-term goal, cancel the debt for our current situation, because people are hurting, and that's kind of a necessity, and they'll stimulate the economy. Small businesses will probably see a benefit from that. And I just don't think it's a good idea to create more departments to just not be efficient to handle issues and allow politicians to debate about policies. I mean, just get rid of the debt. I think that'll be cheaper, and the pros will outweigh the cons in the long run for sure. So this is not a pipe dream. Countries that are developed already do this. So it's not something that we have to just use our imagination to think about. We could just reference other developed nations that invest in their citizens, and they see increase in productivity, happiness, health, innovation, you know, just pretty much doing really good as a society. And right now, I think the American people are entitled to something like that. So yeah, that's pretty much my take on college debt. Just get rid of it. And I think we will see the perks of, you know, people not able to just consistently worry about things that are weighing them down, and they can take part in the local economy more. So if you have any disagreements, feel free to make a comment on the YouTube page, or go to the Twitter account and get involved, because you know what? We got to normalize some more conversations, because midterms are coming up, and this is something we should be involved in yesterday, now. So hopefully this video encourages you to get your debate on, conversation on, and just get more informed on things that are going to affect the future. So that's it for today. Have a good one.